Lawyers don't learn anything about business development in law school or at the law firm level. Think about it as a lawyer being paper-free. It's a whole other world.
I feel like sales has been such a dirty word for lawyers.
What's really making law firms successful is...
Everything except the law will begin after a brief word from Answering Legal. Visit answeringlegal.com to learn more about our virtual receptionist team.
I would absolutely, without question, recommend Answering Legal to every law firm. Not one law firm, but every law firm out there. I've gotten so much business as a result of hiring them. I knew that we were getting a lot of calls after hours. So I needed a company to answer those phone calls live and to get the name, number, because that's key information. All my cases are called back. Answering Legal is the best.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special live episode of Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast. We're coming to you live from our law firm summer reboot camp event. I am your host, Nick Werker. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we share expert advice on all the parts of running a law firm that attorneys weren't exactly trained for back in law school. So our guest today literally wrote the book on law firm business development. His 2022 book, titled Legal Business Development Isn't Rocket Science, can be found on Amazon now. In this episode, we'll be sharing tips on how lawyers can be more successful with their business development efforts. Steve Fretzin joins me now. Steve, welcome back to Everything Except the Law.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nick. Always a good time.
Always a good time, and I had the absolute pleasure of meeting you for like 30 seconds at the ABA Tech Show, and you were exactly the same in person, so it was good to put a real face to the face that I talk to so often over the internet. But Steve, for those who are out there who might not be familiar with your work, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that, Nick. And just a shout out to our friend Matt Kurbis, who was hanging out with us at the ABA Tech Show. Awesome. Law firm, subscribe. So I'll always start off by saying I'm not a lawyer. I got pulled into the industry kicking and screaming after working with entrepreneurs for many years, helping them to grow business. And what I didn't realize was that lawyers don't learn anything about business development in law school or at the law firm level, generally speaking. And that what I came up with, which was a very sales-free methodology, worked really well for attorneys to grow business without ever feeling salesy or that they have to go out and convince or pitch or sell legal services. And so everything kind of gelled together about 16, 17 years ago. And I've really made it my mission to educate and help attorneys all over the world to get their act together on how to grow business and build client relationships without ever feeling salesy. And of course, that's a great lead into the business that I run, which is Fretzin Inc., where I directly coach and train lawyers on my methodologies and help hold them accountable to achieve goals. And I also run a number of peer advisory groups for rainmakers, people that are already crushing it at business development, but would like to be in a room with other attorneys who are crushing it to talk shop. And I enjoy every day of what I get to do in this beautiful industry.
See, I also feel fortunate that I get to exist in this industry, I'll say. I don't know how well I'm doing so far, but
I think you're doing great.
Hey, thanks, man. Before we dive a bit deeper into the topic of business development, can you get our audience caught up on some of the basics? Like, what exactly is business development? What does it entail? How is it different from marketing? What is business development?
Sure. Another nicer way of saying business development, because that's the less scary version of the word sales, would be client development.
Mm-hmm.
You need, as a lawyer, to go out and develop your own clients. That was not something that they shared with you prior to you going into law school. And then you're surprised as a fifth-year associate that they say, hey, you're making partner. Now go and develop, clients. And you're like, what? I thought I was just going to have this great job where I solve problems for people all day and enjoy practicing the law. And that's my life. And they go, well, no, that's not, that may have been what you were led to believe. So business development is really about how lawyers, if it's done properly, it's how do they best leverage their time to be efficient in how they go out and develop relationships and ultimately develop business and also build their personal brand. How it differs from marketing is, I would say marketing is more about the messaging of one-to-many, where business development is more one-to-one, one lawyer to one company, one lawyer to one buyer, and how you get those meetings and get in the door and get in the room and close that business and lock it up for yourself and then retain it for as long as you possibly can, developing client loyalty and all that. And then the marketing is, hey, speaking, writing, social media, anything you can do to kind of put your, podcasting, right? This is marketing and branding for Answering Legal and for Fretzin Inc., us doing this together. That's not business development. But the way I look at business development and marketing, Nick, is it's like two sides of a mountain. And one side is business development, the other side is marketing. And if you can do them at the same time, and you'll get to that peak of the mountain faster because your brand supports and backs up all the things that you're doing on business development. People know your name. People know my name much better now than they did, let's say, 10 years ago. And that helps me with business development because now when I meet with people, they've listened to my Be That Lawyer podcast. They've read a book. They've seen my YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And it's like you're an authority already before you even, step into the room.
Okay. So I want to back up for a second and get into, so now that we've defined what business development is, how can law firms sort of go out and create business development processes? Like, what are some of these processes that they can really use to further their business development?
Yeah, the simplest thing I can tell you about how I see it is I see it a little bit like, let's say we want here, the Olympics just happened, right? And we want to win a gold medal in something. Well, we're probably going to need some planning of how we're going to accomplish, like what can we lay down that's going to kind of show us the roadmap of how this is actually going to work? What do we have to execute on to achieve that level of athleticism or feats of strength or whatever it might be? And then how are we going to make mistakes and learn from them and improve, learn, improve? So that's the simplest form of what I would say planning, process, performance improvement. That isn't necessarily a business development process, but that's how I see business development working and getting internalized with the lawyers I work with and the firms that I've dealt with is having plans, learning processes for execution, and then improving those processes through mistakes and improvement over time. But I have a methodology that I give to lawyers and give to law firms so that their entire group can follow a set structure of how do you network effectively? Do you just go out and wing it? Or do you have actual plans and language and steps that you're following to get the most out of your time? And I think if we look at time as money for lawyers, to just wing it or to just go at it haphazardly is the same as me as a non-lawyer walking into a courtroom and saying, hey, I've seen my cousin Vinny. I've seen a few Law and Orders, Nick. I think I can handle this. And I'm just going to go talk to the judge and the jury like I know what I'm doing. It's probably not going to go so great for me.
I love that analogy. I use that analogy all the time because it's like, you have a law degree. You clearly know the law. You're good at being a lawyer, but it's okay to not know what you don't know. And so I think one of the things that lawyers don't know how to do is develop these new client opportunities. So how can law firms work with their past and existing clients to develop new client opportunities?
Yeah. I mean, when I work with a lawyer, we look at all the different places where business can be drawn from. And obviously the best way to go is to look at the low-hanging fruit. What's the business that's sitting right in front of you that you've been circling around for years and not going directly into? And past and existing clients is the promised land for many attorneys, but they don't feel comfortable making the ask. They don't feel comfortable approaching their clients about a business. Their mindset is, hey, they've already given me this work. They're paying my bills. Do I really want to ask something of them? And here's the mistake in that mindset. I know the top brain surgeon in the world that can really save lives. And I know that I've got a cousin, I've got a close friend or cousin that needs brain surgery. Should I not introduce them to my friend, the brain surgeon, or should I just keep that to myself? So if you're a great lawyer and you do wonderful stuff for your clients, you've great service, you've handled that side of the lawyering piece of the business of law, why wouldn't your happy clients want to refer you to other GCs, CEOs, and other folks that could get the same value that they're getting? And right now, you're just a best kept secret. The reason that it doesn't happen is because lawyers aren't privy to the steps and language that it takes to make that non-salesy. They all feel like asking for something is aggressive and salesy and it's going to scare off their clients or piss someone off. And it's like not what you say, it's how you say it. And so I'm giving lawyers continually new and different approaches to how they're going to make that ask, where it might just be the client's idea. I'll give you a quick example if that's okay, Nick. So I'm working with one of my lawyer clients. Not only am I teaching this lawyer business development at a very high level, but in the process of doing so, I have referred 3 or 4 new lawyers or different lawyers to meet this client as a value add. I've invited that client to come to networking events that I run. I have added value everywhere I can in addition to helping that lawyer grow business, right? So that's the relationship that we have. That's step 1. Now, when we get done working together and they're double, triple their book of business, they're happier than they could ever be with me. And I could say to them very easily, look, Nick, it's clear that you've been very happy, very successful working with me. We've had this amazing partnership. I don't see it ending anytime soon. I have to believe there's a lawyer or 2 at your firm that is looking to make equity, that is as ambitious as you, that would be interested in doing a similar program to what you just went through. Can we just take a few minutes and talk about that? Because I think I might be able to help someone that you really care about do something very similar to what you've accomplished. What lawyer client of mine is going to say, you know what, Steve, go screw yourself. That's a terrible idea. Or how dare you for bringing that up? It's just not going to happen. The relationship, the results, the value add, it's all there. And for me to make that ask and have them be like, of course, for 100%, it's coming back my way. So there's some that's only one of like 5 different approaches that I'm teaching lawyers. There's different approaches for different introverts versus extroverts, different level clients. GCs of major corporations might be different than a local, owner of a small business. So I'm giving one example, but the idea is we have to find the right steps and language for the lawyer to get comfortable around making that ask where it doesn't feel like an ask.
I feel like sales has been such a dirty word for lawyers. I don't know who taught them that. I didn't go to law school, so I don't know if there's like a sales is bad 101 in law school. But sales is a good thing. I mean, so here's how I always put it is you went to law school to help people. You provide a valuable service. And it's like the brain surgery thing, the analogy that you made was so pertinent. But it's like, why would you not want people to know more about you? Why would you not want to convince somebody to hire you if you know that you can help their case? So I just like learning sales or business development, if that makes you feel better or sleep better as a lawyer, is like table stakes if you want to have a successful firm. But I want to talk about networking. And I want to ask you, what are some of the best ways that lawyers can go about networking in 2024? And what can networking do for a law firm?
I mean, networking is at the heart of everything. Similarly, you could say relationship building. I think that goes hand in hand with networking. So the idea is that there are people out there that could do business with you. There are people out there that could refer you. And there are people out there that need to know about you because if they run into something, you want to be the one thought of. And so without engaging, if you're just sitting at your desk and you're cranking out work and you're billing hours and you're never getting out and meeting other people, you're really limiting your chance of success today and in the future, because that's where the business development is going to come in. It comes in through relationships, whether those relationships happen at the local private club, at the park district, tennis courts. It happens at a charity event. It happens anywhere you are in the grocery line. It doesn't matter. It's all about relationships. So there are systems and structures, and I've written a number of books, Nick, and the one that really covers this is the Attorney's Networking Handbook, also available on Amazon. And what I talk about in that book is I start off by saying no one has wasted more time than me networking. Like I was an absolute failure at networking for the first 6 months to a year I did it because I had read the books that said, just give, meet with everybody. And I spent, hundreds and hundreds of hours meeting thousands of people, just helping, trying to help everybody. But I was meeting with the local Avon lady. I was meeting with the Amway salesman. I was meeting with the local insurance person, 2, 3, 4, 10 insurance people. They all wanted to meet with me. Well, what did they want? They wanted to sell me insurance. They weren't meeting me to network. So I had to come up with structures and systems of how to network to make the best use of my time and actually get results out of that time. And so you can go out and network to your heart's desire and be what I call a professional meter. Okay. And you can tear through an unbelievable amount of hours doing that. But look, let me make the mistake for you, the lawyer, and let's take a step back and really think about how can we structure a plan and execution in a way that's going to really be good for our time. And so there's lots of little things that I talk about in the questions that you ask, the events that you go to, the people you meet, the targets you identify, and how you're going to conduct yourself in a way that can qualify people forward to be good referral partners, and the way that we disqualify people out that maybe just aren't a good fit for you. And that's okay. But again, we can't deal with thousands of people. We have to deal with a select, 10 to 50 people that we're going to actually keep in contact with that are the most likely to refer us. So I do have one thing I want to share that will be super helpful.
Sure.
So if you're networking with someone, hopefully you're doing it in a structured way, but there's a question that I came up with years ago that has saved my clients so much time to understand, is this person in front of me someone that I want to keep meeting with multiple times? Or is this someone that maybe I can just stay friends with, but I don't need to meet with them much more after that? And we're really thinking about strategic partnerships. So just as an example, let's say it's an estate planning attorney. That estate planning attorney is meeting with a financial planner. The estate planning attorney could ask the financial planner near the end of the meeting, how often in a given year are you referring your clients to an estate planner? They need estate plans. Everyone needs estate plans. How often are you referring them out? And the financial planner says it could be anywhere between 15 and 20 times a year. And then you might follow up and say, well, what are you doing? Who's getting those? How is that working? What's that relationship like? Oh, it's terrible. They don't say thank you. They never refer me a thing. It's what you may just have found is someone that could refer you 15 or 20 matters a year. Just by asking that one question, you may never have known how much or how many people they really need to send out, versus someone saying, hey, in 10 years, I've been a financial planner. I don't refer estate planners. I never would. Let them figure that out on their own. Well, that's someone you can run the other way from, because that's not someone you're going to want to send people to and not someone you're going to want to engage with. You're looking for a reciprocal arrangement where you can send people to a good financial planner. Financial planner can send good people to the estate planner. And that's at the heart of what we're trying to get out of networking is where's the business and how can we make that time very constructive?
So you obviously deal with a lot of, I don't want to say businesses, but law firms are businesses. You deal with a lot of law firm businesses. What's like the biggest business development mistake that you see growing law firms make and drives you crazy?
I think it's probably that there's one rainmaker at the top who has all the relationships and is keeping his or her people down doing the work. And I get that the work has to get done. And if it's a couple $1 million and, the team has to contribute to that. But to not allow people who want to go out and develop business, that have the ambition and the interest in developing and adding to the firm's bottom line and they can make more and have a longer career. I think it's very short-sighted. And I think lawyers today understand business development is now a big part of their future. They may not always take action on it, but I think all lawyers kind of know that client development is at the heart of where they need to go if they want to stay sustainable in the field. And so I think that's probably the biggest business development. I'd say that, and just not educating, like not getting educated on best practices, not reading, not listening, not watching, what to do to be the best business developer you can be. And again, if you're just out winging it, for some people that works, and people have built $1 million books on just charm and personality and having an angle. And then there's other people that that would never be able to do the same thing. So everybody's got a different spin on it, but I think that but not becoming a student of the game would be advice I would give, that we all need to continually learn in order to improve and get where we want to go.
So I want to see if I understand you very well. So I am not in sales at this business. There is a team of salespeople. I am the marketing guy. I do the podcast. I do the website stuff. I make the pretty pictures. Whatever you think that marketer people do, I do most of that. But what I am really good at is networking. So I do go to events like where I met you at ABA Tech Show, and I have relationships with other people in the field. And what I heard from you is that it's a mistake to have just one rainmaker, right? So it would be a mistake if all of my business was just coming from one place. Whereas because I have these relationships, shout out to Annette Chody, who was in an accident recently. I wish her a speedy recovery. I email her every day just checking on her because I love her so much. But very recently, she sent me a really big client and didn't ask for anything in return, sent me a big client. And I'm not a rainmaker, and it would be foolish of somebody to say like, oh, Nick, you can't bring in a client just because you're not the rainmaker. No, I handed off that relationship to our sales team. We got them onboarded and they became a paying customer. And in return, right, Annette is very smart at networking. She said, let's hop on a call and talk about how I could be a preferred vendor and things like this. And this is what we're talking about. So I just wanted to sort of regurgitate that. Is that the type of thing that you're talking about? Is that anybody in the firm can be a rainmaker and can be a networker?
Yeah, I think if you're looking to add value to the firm and you're looking to add value to yourself, you need to step up and leverage the relationships that you have, develop more, and bring in business. If you think about who's going to get let go at a firm, if all lawyers are good, who's going to let go? The lawyer who's bringing in $1 million plus in business and is a good lawyer, or the person who isn't bringing in that business and is just a good lawyer? I mean, that decision is very easy to make from a business perspective, okay, personalities aside. But I think what you're saying is, what we're sharing is the idea that, look, even though you're in marketing and sales is not your role, you have a big network, and to not leverage that to add value for the business and to bring in people that you know you can add value for and at the same time help your company, that makes sense versus them telling you, that's not your job, Nick, don't do that. I mean, that would be insane, by the way. But at the law firm level, especially big firms, they really don't want their younger associates doing any business development because it takes away from their billable hour and it takes away from, the work that needs to get done that's getting pushed down. And then eventually in 5-7 years, they might say, oh, maybe you want to consider bringing in business. Or at that point, they're making so much money and they're so busy, but are they really living the life they want to live? And the answer for most of them is no. That's why big law firms don't expect their people to be there forever. They expect they get whatever they can out of them. And then they just bring in the next round and the next round and the next round. That's not all big firms, but I'm saying like that's a part of that big firm. That's why a lot of big firm lawyers end up going out on their own because they realize, look, this is just a meat market, burn and churn. I want to actually produce something I can be proud of.
Now I understand more of what you were saying. Can you share any examples of law firms that you've seen excelling in the area of business development and what's allowed them to be successful?
I mean, I work more with lawyers than law firms these days, but I do work with a ton of managing partners. And I think what's really making law firms successful is strong culture, advocacy and transparency around business development and around how we can all, raise everybody up. They say, what is it about the tides rising all ships and all that? So it's really about how do we work as a team to have a mission for the firm to build this together and everybody's valued and everybody's valuable. And what do you need? And what can we get for you? Is it training? Is it marketing? What support technology can we get you? Those are the firms that are really thriving right now because they have that mindset of, we're on a mission. Everyone's on the same page. We're all moving forward together. And the ones that are failing are big surprise. It's the one ego-driven rainmaker at the top, just, water falling down all the work on everybody else and no transparency. Your bonus will be what I tell you it is. I mean, there's even some mid-market firms where there's no transparency about what their origination credit is. There's no transparency about what their bonuses are going to be. What does it take to make equity? It's like the firms like that because they want to be in a position to hold people back a year or two if they don't like them or if they feel like they need more time versus it being, transparent about like, here are the bars that you need to, get over to achieve equity or to get to this certain point. So I think that shift is happening in legal pretty quickly.
Do you have any recommended tools that can aid the business development process?
Yeah, I mean, I have, books, my podcast books, and my YouTube channel, Steve Fretzin on YouTube. But if we're looking more broadly, there's, again, there's coaches, there's programs, there's mentor programs at your firm that you should look into if they have that. And then, of course, leveraging technology. If I want to be a strong business developer, one of the first things I would do if I was a lawyer is I would become an expert at time management. Because the biggest pushback you're going to get to do business development is I don't have time. That's always going to come up. I'm billable. I have all this work to do. And where am I going to get the time to go and do this whole other business, which is client development? So if you can read, Getting Things Done by David Allen, or Atomic Habits by James Clear, or just really, just really become a student of business development, but also of time management. I teach time management as a skill every day. A couple of things that I would also recommend are some technology and automation tools. So having auto schedulers like Acuity and Calendly, so that you're not going back and forth with clients and going back and forth with people to schedule. That saves me, I'll ballpark it at 30 minutes to an hour a day, having those auto schedulers. I'm scheduling somewhere between 6 and 10 meetings a day. If I had to go back and forth with every person that wanted to schedule with me, I wouldn't have a day, or I'd have to hire an assistant to do that specific task. And I'll tell you one other thing. This is going to be one no one's expecting. I got into buying a Remarkable 2. It's a paper tablet years ago. This thing right here. And it is an absolute game changer because I have everything that I deal with all day in my tablet. Every note I take, every client, every speaking opportunity, everything that I need, notes and all, it's all here. And I don't have any paper. So being paper free, think about it as a lawyer being paper free. It's a whole other world. Time management and paper free together, forget about it. So I think that I would say time management and business development go hand in hand, and you'd want to really become strong on both of those areas and find any resource you can to cut the time that you're going to expend on something and the learning curve on something. That's why lawyers hire me, mainly is because they're like, hey, I could go figure this out over the next 3 to 5 years, or I could hire Steve, work with him, and in a year I'm going to double my book, or in 2 years I'm going to quadruple my book, because they're just getting the plans, the execution, the accountability to get where they want to go. And people think they're investing in me, and yes, I get the money, but ultimately, lawyers need to think about how can they invest in themselves, whatever that might be. And that's really how you're going to advance your career and make a lot more money than taking, $50,000 a year and putting it in the bank. That's good to do, but I'd rather see you take that 25 or 50,000, put it back into yourself and your production to make equity partner, or to go out on your own and know that you're going to make, $500,000 to $1 million or more a year.
Obviously, new technology has brought the world closer together. I'm pretty sure you're in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're in Chicago. I'm on Long Island in New York. We're pretty far away right now, and we're having this conversation. And lawyers can now instantaneously communicate with people from all over the world. There's obviously jurisdictional issues that come with that, but do you have any thoughts on the future of law firm business development and how it might start to evolve over the next few years?
Well, it's already happening. I just think I'm able to get so much more done and be everywhere all at once through this technology of Zoom that I don't know that there's much that compares to it. And then we look at, the ability to leverage, tools like social media and LinkedIn in particular. I mean, LinkedIn, holy mackerel, that is the most powerful business development tool that's ever been invented by, man. And, when I think back to when I started in sales back in the 90s, I had to literally flip through a phone book. People don't even know what a phone book is. They've never seen one. Okay. But it's alphabetical, like pizza places and different stores. And that's how I used to have to go and try to connect with people. So LinkedIn is just a magical tool. So I would definitely recommend, people checking out how to be more successful using LinkedIn to develop relationships and build brand. But there's technology coming, and AI is new, right? So that's coming out. And so using ChatGPT I'll give you an example. I just took a transcript from a podcast, took it ChatGPT, constructed it into an actual article that I can then post as a blog on LinkedIn. And how long did that take me? Maybe 15 minutes. And now I have a brand new article in 15 minutes that I pulled from a transcript from a podcast. So it's like things are happening all the time. A lot of it around marketing, but then I talked to a bunch of legal tech experts, and I run the kind of a roundtable for them, and they were talking about AI, and it's getting intense. It's getting intense. In some ways, it's going to be super helpful. In other ways, might take away some jobs. But again, so did the tractor. So there you go.
Exactly, and that is all the time we have. So, Steve, I'd like to thank you for joining me on the show today, and thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we will be back with another episode of Everything Except the Law soon. Be sure to check out previous episodes of our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. Links to everything covered in today's conversation can be found in the description of this episode. See you next time, everyone.